Each year, Microsoft Research hosts hundreds of influential speakers from around the world, including leading scientists, renowned experts in technology, book authors, and leading academics, and makes videos of these lectures freely available.
Thank you so much for coming. We're thrilled to have you. My name is Amy Draves, and I'm so happy to welcome both Felicia Day and Marcy Silman to the Microsoft Research Visiting Speaker Series. Marcy's a familiar voice to NPR listeners in Seattle. She's been with KUOW for the last 3 decades as an on-air host, producer, program creator, and most recently is returning to her passion as a full-time arts and culture reporter. Felicia, as you know, is a writer, actress, producer, and online maven. She wrote and starred in The Guild, which has won numerous awards, and has authored the memoir, You're Never Weird on the Internet, Almost. Her YouTube channel, Geek and Sundry, has over 1 million subscribers and over 200 million views. And there is so much more, which I'll let Marcy and Felicia take from here. Please join me in giving them a very warm welcome.
I feel like we're in the belly of the internet beast.
I know.
In a sense, it's wild. Thanks, everyone. Yeah.
Thanks for coming out. I hope all of you are supposed to be working, so you're welcome.
And then all the ones watching online when they're supposed to be developing software.
Whatever you're doing.
Whatever you do.
Fine.
Sitting here, it is hard to remember a time when there wasn't a cloud and an internet and streaming, and we were talking about this over lunch, the fact that, it's not that long ago that you were really excited when you got Gopher and you could find a library in Serbia and not understand anything. This was before your time, but I
never found a library in Serbia.
You don't remember it, but I do. But I wanted you to start out at the very beginning about that first discovery of the internet.
Yeah, it was so weird in writing my book that I discovered that my life, being my age, I have grown up with the evolution of the internet, what feels like, although post-Serbian libraries on Gopher, but I never really had a time where I didn't know that I could reach out to somebody through a computer to connect with them, and I think that's kind of a generational thing that I grew up with, and I'm the first, and everyone subsequently will be able to do that. So, I even when I was doing the audiobook, I was like, oh, I get to do a modem dial-up. It's like, okay. It's my favorite thing. I'm like, no, let me do it again. I think I can make it better. And it's just amazing how far we've come in this world where we are never not connected, and we never have this idea that we can't be who we are, which I think is a very freeing thing that the technology has given us.
But you were this little kind of homeschooled Alabama girl, but you say by hippie-ish parents.
Yes.
This is a distinction. So it's you and your brother, and I got the sense from this book that there really wasn't a whole lot of live human interaction beyond this family unit.
No. Nope, I grew up in a bubble of oddity, and I think that's definitely served me well in life. I wouldn't be here if I had not grown up weird, and that's kind of what I say in the book, but also, there's some downsides to it in being incredibly self-conscious, especially at parties, and that's when I'm relieved when someone can talk about Fallout. I'm like, oh, thank God, it's somebody I can talk to here. So yeah, it was definitely a situation where I got to pursue the things that interested me regardless of other people's judgment. And I think that definitely allowed me to pursue things like mathematics and video games and technology in a way that I don't think would have been reinforced as cool or something that I should have been attracted to if I were in normal environments.
Was it your brother who introduced you to video games?
No, it was my mother, actually. She played Infocom games. I don't know, anybody? Infocom in the house? Yeah, Zork, yeah. She played Leather Goddess of Phobos, which was like an adult. It was an adult version of, I didn't know that. But she would play that, and I would sit on her lap because my grandfather was a nuclear physicist, and he gave us his cast-off laptop, which was essentially as big as this chair. I even have a picture of what I approximated, what it looked like, what I remember. And literally, it's this big, and the screen is here, and I was like, oh my God, it's so real. So it's so, just in 30 years, my God, it's come so far. But yeah, that was how I got introduced to them, and then my brother and I got an Amiga, which I don't know if anybody remembers that. not. It was like yeah, I know. God, this is great. We should have a club. And we played video games on that all the time.
But this is not the only thing that Felicia did. You actually were in drama. You, I think, danced for a little while. I'm not sure how long
I danced
that lasted.
3 hours a day. I went to class because I got out of the house. It was attractive to me.
Yeah, and you're a musician.
Yeah, I played the violin, and I played mostly out of boredom. I mean, I would read voraciously, and we would play video games. There was still more day to fill up. So I played the violin, and I really loved it, and I played quite a bit, which eventually got me a scholarship to college.
So you guys are getting the impression, academic schoolwork, where did that fit into all of this? Because not a lot, right?
No, I mean, I self-taught myself. Like, my mom always had textbooks. We'd go to the textbook store and just kind of read and pick up whatever we wanted, but there's no formal structure to it. I never took a test before the SAT. You know, I never was measured in any way. I just loved learning. And I loved reading, and I would just read what I wanted. I never trained for a test at all. And that's really weird to think about. I never had homework. I mean, I'm sorry, children in front of me. I've got some stink eye right here. I'm sorry. I just basically did whatever I wanted. I slept in every day, and I'm gonna just grind it in there. I'm sorry. I mean, but I just loved learning so much, and I just learned at the pace that I would want to. So I was bad in some respects, like especially in like chemistry and history. I was not as well versed as I should have been, but in mathematics and reading and literature and other things that really interest me, I just read as far as I could.
So you got this scholarship to the University of Texas. You were 16, is that right?
I was 15, and I was at a lesson one day, and I studied with a professor there because my mom raised me to be a princess. I don't know. I was tutored by some people in areas like violin and math. And one day he was like, "What are you doing next year?" And I was like, "I don't know. I'm really bored." And he's like, "Just come to college." And somehow, I actually wrote this in the book, like, I don't have a GED, which I didn't realize until I was writing I actually don't have one. So I have a college degree.
But no high school.
No high school degree, so I don't know if that disqualifies me somehow. I'm afraid someone's gonna call up and be like, "Well, you don't have a college degree anymore, sorry."
I don't think they take them back after you earn them.
I really hope not, because I worked really hard for that.
I don't think so. But you were, the girl that you describe as this, not only a math and musical prodigy, but you were like super driven. You were like beyond obsessive.
I mean, I wouldn't say prodigy. I just worked really hard. I had the time to devote to the things that were interesting to me. And I think that's really the key to anything, just devoting time to something in your life that gives you that sort of fulfilling sense of, I want to do more, and I want to build to something bigger than just do this for an hour and dropping it.
That sounds really nice when you say it like that. That's not how you wrote it.
Well, I mean, I hope I didn't brag that much. Now
No, you were obsessed with being perfect.
Oh no, I'm obsessed with being perfect.
Okay,
yes,
that part.
I think the most important actually thing in my book is when I tell, and children, close your eyes because I'm not telling you don't get good grades, but one of the stories in that college chapter is how I was obsessed with my GPA. I wanted to be so good, and really in the end, I think had I just gotten a couple B's and learned how to not be perfect, it would have been easier on me later in life, because that perfection, it's kind of like they say, like, you can get 90% of where you want in your weight by pretty well, but that last 10% of trying to get that much skinnier is 90% of the work. Is it really that worth it to work that 10% and then take away from the other things that could have enriched me, like doing more theater or just spending more time with friends and quality of life things? But again, I'm not telling anybody to get bad grades, because I don't want any parents mad at me, especially that one.
But let's see, you're never weird on the internet. You were weird in college.
Oh yeah, I mean, I never knew I was weird. Until I got to really, because college, the way you program your life, you get to be who you are a little bit more. So I think in college, you're freer to be, the thing you want to be, because you cobble together your interests. You're working toward a degree, but you can also take electives. And believe me, I took like 22 hours a semester just because I'm like, oh, shiny. But I think that, in life, when I moved to Hollywood to try to be like, hey, I'm going to be, famous in a second, like you get a wake-up call, because especially that business is very much on your physical appearance and not who you feel like you are on the inside. And then you get self-conscious about who you are. Like, hey, maybe they're right. Maybe I am this person they are saying I should be. And that's where I really, started to struggle a little bit.
Well, it's interesting. So you had this double major, math and music, And then how long did it take you to say goodbye to both of those things and go to LA?
Oh no, it was always a plan. It was
always a plan?
completely irrational. I mean, unqualified in every way. Like I got my degrees because my dad was like, you have to have a degree in something reliable before you try this acting thing. Because, and I realized in retrospect, like it's because theater was a place where I felt like I belonged and I connected with people. And that sense of belonging is something I think is so important and something I didn't have in my day-to-day life because I was homeschooled. So theater gave me that joy of like, hey, we're hanging out with people. Even though I'm the fifth can-can girl from the left, you know, I'm not the star, but I love putting on a show or just working with other people towards a goal. That's probably why I like raiding in World of Warcraft so much. We're like taking down the boss or like taking down, you know, Oklahoma together.
Yeah, where the sun just out there in the sky.
Yeah.
While you were doing this obsessive grade pursuit in Austin, Texas, what role did the online gaming and that whole internet play for you?
Well, really during college is when I discovered the internet, which was like, I don't know, this was like 95 or something when I first started college. I was like, oh my God, where do I go? This Alta Vista, what do I, where do I go from here? And slowly but surely, like I kind of kindled that love of connecting with people on Usenet and with my own horrible website I made and and making terrible Photoshop, which I have pictures of in the book. And really, you know, being obsessed with Diablo, number one, which I had an Amazon called Booty Call, who I was very advanced in levels. That was the one thing that threatened my GPA, Diablo. So I did play online games, but Diablo isn't like the kind that you join a guild, you know, that's not the kind of game it is. It's a little bit more separate, or at least was back then. So it really wasn't until I talk about in the book Puzzle Pirates and World of Warcraft where I like had a social group where I would log on every day and play together. And that was really when MMOs became a thing, and that's why I became obsessed with them.
You became addicted.
Yeah, I was definitely, I mean, I guess, yeah, definitely.
That's your word, not mine.
No, I did.
Okay.
No,
all right.
I'm braggy and addicted, I guess. Yes, I would wake up in the morning and I would play. I mean, my brother invited me to play when the game first started, and I would play at night with him, which was very healthy and awesome, and it actually led to us having a better relationship, and I had friends online, and then slowly but surely, as my acting career literally just was like, this is it, you're gonna work a couple days a month and then nothing else, and I just didn't know how to get ahead because it's not a merit-based world. It just isn't. It's a very appearance-based, not merit-based world, and it's a lot of luck. And not to denigrate it, that's just the parameters, but being from a very academic background, I didn't know how to get ahead, really, except by like trying to change myself, which I started doing, and I was unhappy with that. So therefore that equaled become the best warlock I can, because effort equals reward. I loved it.
Well, you talk about that community that you'd found doing theater. You didn't really find that in LA. You found that in these games.
Yeah, because LA is really, I mean, I did some plays and I did improv, which was the closest I came to having a family there, but really there is a sense of satisfying, of being able to log on every day and see the same people. It just feels very comforting knowing that you have a place where you feel like you belong and you're doing stuff together. Like, I mean, I wish we could do something really useful with gameplay like that, like really change something in the real life by raiding. Let's figure this out, guys, because it's important, because I would raid every night. I'm doing good for people. We're building a house. It's like Habitat for Humanity in a VR world. Oh my God, I would do that every day. It was something that felt good in that I was unhappy with my real life, and I just kept piling it on because instead of really dealing with the things underneath that I was unhappy with, I decided to just raid more.
And so actually the guild came out of, it almost is like the result of your trying to beat addiction, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I joined a support, and I talk about this in my book, that the reason I'm here today is because a couple of people got together and was like, hey, do you want to join the support group? Which sounds terrible, and it's like, oh, embarrassing. But it was really lovely to have a group to be accountable to in a creative world, to show up every week and not be able to prove myself to the group and show progress when they did. And that's really what almost shamed me or frightened me into stopping playing as much, because I saw that them progressing out of the support that we were lending each other, and me not, because I was kind of tying my hat. I was putting my hat on the wrong hat rack, so to speak, with the long hours in the week.
So these were people who were writers. They were people who had projects.
Writers, directors, actors. They were all people who were creatively frustrated in Hollywood and wanted to proceed together. And when people ask me, how do I become a writer? How do I become a creator? Like, to me, you can never do anything alone. Even if you're a writer, which is a very solitary act, the idea of showing up and being accountable not only to yourself but to other people who are close to you is so, it makes it feel less alone when you're suffering. Because when you're suffering alone, you feel like it's all me, I'm the failure, I'm the one who rationally can't get over this roadblock. But when you hear other people talk about it, and that's why I talk about, in my book, depression and anxiety, like, if you're not feeling alone, you're already on the step to healing, which I think is really important.
Well, you were actually very depressed when you joined this group.
Absolutely. Oh, the guild online? Yeah. No, I didn't. I don't think I realized that. And then when I joined the Chicken, which was the group, I know it's a terrible. It's just.
This is
and
they actually sat together in
Yes.
real space. This is not an online virtual group.
And it was me not realizing how unhappy I was. Right. I was operating from unhappiness, and I think it's funny how you can go through life being so anxious, so unhappy, but not have the physical know-how to acknowledge what your brain is trying to tell you. You just absorb it as truth. But really, it's not necessarily truth. It's your brain basically telling you, hey, pay attention to me, take care of me, in a way, sometimes.
So how many of you first saw Felicia when the guild went online? Right, most of you.
Oh, raising hands.
Yeah, I like to do that.
Yeah.
They would take notes. Talk about that. That came right out of the Chicken, right?
So I decided I'm going to prove myself. I'm not going to show up and tell them I raided, molten core again. I'm going to overcome this, and I'm going to finish the screenplay by the end of the year. And it was a very hard process, which I talk about in the book, of how hard it was for me creatively to get over that hump. And I do think it was part and parcel with being a perfectionist. Being a perfectionist was it was something that I, in retrospect, feel like really kept me back a lot, because you have to experiment. Like you guys know, you have to beta test. In a way, you're not going to create this perfect, object, this holy grail or something just from your brain. It's not going to emerge fully formed and perfect. Nothing will. It might be a happy accident once in a blue moon, but we always look at the lottery to set our bar, but it's not. It's really the day-to-day work that you have to show up to build something and refine it to make it something that you can be proud of. That's what I didn't have the bravery or the know-how to do.
Well, even after you joined this support group that you were so embarrassed about joining, and really almost felt like you were going incognito to this diner, it still was several months before you produced anything.
Yeah, absolutely. It was months and months.
So what kicked your butt and got you to do something?
I just had this panic attack, and I have them a lot, but this one was a doozy, and I just realized I was going to die one day, and I needed to do something that I was really proud of just for myself. It wasn't the external stuff, the career, the people wanting to hear me. Like, that was not what motivated me. What motivated me was I have to make an imprint on the world in a way that makes me feel meaning or I'm going to die a husk, and it be, it was terrible. I really did. I was very afraid, and I think that fear was the only thing that could get me over that hump of getting over myself, of messing up, being willing to fail for trying.
So I love how the Guild started, because if there ever was a DIY video show, this is it, right?
Oh yeah, I talk about hunting for trash and just borrowing cameras and, just like the weirdest, oh look, it's wallpaper, now it's a painting, that's literally how the Guild got made, and it was a labor of love. And I think through the process of filmmaking, which was kind of like rating, which is kind of like making a play, which is kind of like playing in an orchestra, we were all together adding our unique vision and making a project together. And that really is something I love, and that was what was introduced to me in being, cobbling together a film shoot on like $1,000 or something.
Whose money was that at the beginning?
It was me and the director and my producer, Kim's. We just pitched in, and we're like, let's make something in our garages, not thinking we had any end result except maybe having something to show people later to be like, hey, we made this, and look how wonderful this script is, make it a TV show. But really, the minute we uploaded it to the internet and saw how people interacted with it, and had people even respond like, hey, I hate you. Even that was like, oh, they saw it.
Well, you did have a little bit of luck in that YouTube stuck it on its homepage.
Yeah, there was a lot of, and I actually put this together in a talk that I did a couple days ago, that I love being in the tech world because tech is based on innovation. The bar to succeeding and innovating is thinking about something nobody did before. And the Hollywood, I love the things it makes, but the paradigm of Hollywood is not doing that. It's too risky to do that thing and really innovate, and therefore innovative ideas are not rewarded the way they are in tech, and that's why I love being on the web or whatever platform it is that is technical, because they're so much more open to creativity within their technology, which people don't actually give credit to as much in tech. So I mean that's definitely a testament to being featured. Was YouTube not necessarily now, they don't really do this, but they curated the page of things they thought were cool. And just like the Guild succeeded and got to a whole new platform by being featured by Xbox and being on the dashboard, because really you can make a lot of things, but unless you get the visibility, especially in this world where we're so saturated with creativity, it's very hard to break through. And I've been lucky many times in my life and my career to be bolstered and basically mentored by tech companies.
So I'm curious, you had this creative need. It was a drive. You had to make something because you didn't want to die a husk, I believe is the word you used. A husk. Yeah. I love that. But going forward, because you were sort of producing and then you put the PayPal button up and people
before Kickstarter, yeah. I was like, I guess this is I don't know, somebody suggested it to me. I had no idea that anybody would donate. I mean, it was crazy.
Did you have, people make like 5-year plans, 10-year plans. Did you have like a 5-day plan even?
I don't have a 5-day plan today.
No?
Like I had a panic attack last night. I was like, your book tour is over tomorrow. What are you going to do next? You have nothing. I mean, like, I know, your look on your face is like, you're crazy. Well, yeah, but I mean, I think that need to sort of always be creating, I think, is a good. I mean, it's good and it's destructive, and it can leave me spiraling down or upward. And really, it's the audience, the supportive audience, that keeps me going. Like people ask me, do you have a marketing background or PR? Like, what's your angle? And I'm like, I don't have an angle. I just think, like, am I a random person who likes my work? What do I want to see next? That's literally the baseline. How do I make it easy for a random person who likes what I do to get what they like and get it easily wherever they are? I mean, that's really been the whole modus operandi of my, Swami career, which is not Swami at all.
But you also act in other people's things. I'm curious what besides the fact that they pay you and you pay yourself to make stuff, what do you get that's different if you're in if you're in Buffy as opposed to being in the Guild?
Well, you get a platform, like I said. Like, I mean, the platform that the Guild. I mean, really, you reach a lot more audience, and I think it's something that tech companies give away very. I miss the days when there were those slots for the curation versus just the advertisement, because the ability of tech companies to champion creativity is there, and I think in the need to monetize, you give the keys over just to Hollywood. But that means you're only going to get the things that Hollywood approves, which are not necessarily innovative, which I think pairs better with audience on tech platforms. That's just my opinion. But I also love to show up to a set and not worry if craft service is there, or like no, we're going overtime. We have to pay the crew. We don't have the time. We got to wrap it up. And also the dollars are not there yet to have the infrastructure of a television show. Like Supernatural, I worked on for 4 seasons. I loved showing up and just being another character, but also the fact that 300 people are on that crew in order to make that volume of content. They make 22 episodes a season, 22 hours of content, and everybody's a specialist, and be able to have that volume, you have to have the sound stages, you have to have the people who are qualified and be able to pay them their rate. And we're not there yet. We're seeing, Netflix and Amazon and all these other places kind of be contenders like that. But it's, even in Geek Sundry, we have very polished content, but it costs 1/10 of what a TV show costs. And that's just, until the dollars, which are mostly advertising dollars, go to reward those more niche contents, then this is where we're at, and we can just push the envelope as much as we can.
That question of monetizing internet content goes beyond entertainment. I mean, journalism is also thinking about that as well. Where do you think that, not all of us can just put a Kickstarter or a PayPal button up. So where do you think ultimately that money will come from, if it will.
I mean, I think the gatekeepers control the money, and if you want to make a television show, it's probably going to go through traditional television, unless you're making something really low budget, like community access or something. Like the Guild was made on very reasonable funds, and that was an outlier, obviously, but it's not the only person who can do that. And I think it's really interesting, as audiences spread over a lot more kinds of content, it's definitely a struggle, kind of akin to the music business. Whether how do you justify spending $3 million on an hour of content when a vlogger in their garage is getting more views? And I think it's a struggle that in the end will lift up personality as a legitimate business, kind of like the vlogger and the internet personality things. But at the same time, you'll have more experiment and more experimentation with other platforms making television-like content. Because really, just because it's on one platform doesn't mean it's on another. My experience with the Guild is that the Guild found new audience wherever it went. Even like Hulu, 3 years after it was released, I would get new fans from every platform. And as people see that their investment in content has a long tail to it, unlike the quicker and dirtier stuff, I think emphasis will come back around to that kind of stuff. Hopefully, because that's the stuff. That's what I like to make. Things that will last a long time versus more immediate. That's just my temperature.
Would you ever sell it to anybody?
The Guild?
Yeah. Or your Geek and Sundry. I mean,
Oh, it's sold.
It's sold. Well, there you go. And you own none of it?
I don't own it, but I am the creative head of it, and I have quite a lot of creative control. I sold the company, so YouTube invested in like 100 startups, and a lot of them didn't succeed, but some did, and mine was one of them, and I got bought by Legendary, which is a very, especially for Hollywood standards, very innovative, very geek-friendly, and allows me to do what I want because they know that I know my audience, which I think makes them very unique in the space to really trust the audience to kind of lead content, especially in the digital world. So, it's very hard to be independent and scale bigger. I mean, really, that's really the key. Like one person in their garage can make an impact, but can they sustain leveling up, so to speak? And that's really when I talk about my anxiety and depression, is going through that adjustment of being not just in front of the camera, behind it on multiple levels, and trying to scale instantly without infrastructure was very, very, very challenging. And it goes to show that just like Supernatural has 300 people on it, in order to scale the infrastructure, you do have to have a bigger team in order to make consistent content over years, which I would love to. I still want to be making content even in front of the camera or behind it in 5 to 10 years, and you really do have to have that patron to be able to support that.
So yeah, you're never weird on the internet almost. Are you yourself when you're online? Or is there an online Felicia and this is the performative Felicia?
I mean, I think that I definitely swear less in my tweets than I do in person. But other than that, I'm very proud of trying to just be me. And I think that's the heart of the book. Like, I am literally who I am here, and I actually fight to show my warts, because I think that the deification of personality doesn't help anybody in trying to attain their own goals. And it's not about me, especially creativity is not about the person who's creating it, it's about how you affect other people. And if I can bust down stereotypes and show people that they should be proud to say they're a gamer, and connect with people, and like the things they like we should never round the corners of our authentic selves, because we're selling ourselves short. And anytime anyone tries to shame me or tell me I should be different or I should be doing this, I always go back to my gut, and I know that I'm doing the right thing, whether it's for somebody. It might not be the right thing for someone else, but it's the right thing for me. So, and that's what I try to be online. I treat it like my own I am. If I would delight my brother with it, I will hopefully delight the world with it. And that doesn't please everybody, but that's the digital world. You don't have to please everybody. You just have to please the people who you feel supported of. And I think that's the beautiful thing about the internet.
And that's the nice side. I can't end this and open it up unless I ask you about Gamergate, because while there are a lot of women sitting in this room, the world of gaming went through a really horrible long episode. A lot of these things happened to you, although you were relatively quiet publicly on that particular subject. So in that sense of shaming and doxing and misogyny and animosity. Are we coming out on the other side from your point of view, or does this still continue for people like you?
I think when you have anonymity, like the beautiful thing about the internet is that you can feel like you belong no matter what you believe. And that is the dark side too, that people can feel like, oh, this attitude is acceptable because 1,000 people in this chat room or this forum think that's cool. And, I think Gamergate, labeling all hatred online and misogyny and all those things just to one label is not accurate. Like I talk in my book about, I'm sure we all remember those memes of like gamer girl, like that, that gamer girl meme that went around for years about sort of litmus testing women, especially who are finding a voice in a world that was not necessarily they were not represented. And I think when you see somebody expressing enthusiasm about something, regardless of their gender or anything, and you slap them and say, oh, you're not good enough for me, that makes me so angry. And I think that's, that root and all those, I saw that for years, and I relay a couple of experiences I had toward it that I never really recounted, how much they deeply affected me, that I felt like I belonged to gaming, and in fact, these people were telling I didn't. And such a small minority, but, on the internet, you could feel like you're being mobbed by 30 people telling you you're horrible. So I would not attribute, everything to that label. I think that was a horrible incident that just kind of showed that there were some people who were very unhappy and decided to join forces and do it, and it felt like it ruled gaming in a way that it does not. Because gaming to me is beautiful. It's a thing that brings people together. It's an art form, and it's something I'd rather do with my time than consume any other kind of media. So the fact that in a broader sense, all of gaming is painted with that is something I want to stand up to against. But just ignoring it and pretending like it didn't happen is not the case, because you want to strengthen people to be able to stand up against that if it happens again to them on a small scale or a large. So I do believe that gaming is improved in a sense so that more voices are standing up against that kind of thing. And the more we form community in a positive way, the more that small minority voices like that will be drowned out.
So it's 2:02, and here's what I'm supposed to tell you. At 2:15, Felicia will sign books back there.
I'm in a weird corner.
In a corner back here.
So come on through.
By some trees.
Come on down.
But now's your chance to ask 13 minutes worth of questions right there.
So PAX this weekend, huh?
Yes, I'm going to be at PAX. So if somehow, you had a question?
Oh, yeah. I'll be at PAX too. It'll be great. But my question is,
okay, cool.
How could we make Xbox Live better for codecs?
Codecs as a random gamer?
Yeah. Well, not random, but specific personality.
A specific personality, a gamer. I mean, I love Xbox. Like I think the environment is friendly. I think more tools to be able to form permanent friend groups on there would be nice. Guilds, so to speak. It is a closed system, but it feels friendly to me, design-wise. And I love the ability to curate. Like, I think customization in a sense, but not just customization for yourself, but for friend groups would be really nice. And just, I mean, I guess it would be nice to have more video on there. As somebody who was literally made by Xbox Video, I'm sad to see there's not more of it on there. And I think that, especially if you're tailoring it to a gamer, like there's a lot of content out there, but just like the curation wand helped me on YouTube and on Xbox, like there are voices that you guys could use as your mascots in a sense, or your personalities, and I think that would help, or at least curation of video to supplement gaming.
It strikes me that they should all be taking lots of notes.
No, I don't know. No,
if they can make it to order right there.
I'd just like to express my appreciation to you personally. The Guild, I think, articulated a dark time for a lot of us, post-recession, the malaise, the directionless depression stuff, all that. And you had a great impact on me personally and a lot of people I know, so thank you very much for that.
Thank you. That is beautiful.
Amy?
So I have an online question for you. In terms of scaling a project, how do you go about finding and choosing people to work with? And then the second part of your question is, any predictions about the future of collaboration?
Yeah, I think it's really tough, and that's something I really had to struggle with when I started Geek and Sundry. I just thought I was going to make a bunch of content, and I didn't realize that the infrastructure to make all that content was going to be a huge, monumental thing to build. And that was something I just naively didn't expect. I didn't know anything about business. And really, creativity only soars when it's supported by people around that vision, right? I mean, not to say it's auteur driven, but in fact, the infrastructure just as important, like the UI, to show off that creativity and the ability to interact with it and share it. Like the nuts and bolts are just as important as the creativity, because without all those, you don't get your voice out. So, it's part and parcel to be able to build a good infrastructure with personality in a company just as much as anything. And, as far as managing people, I was terrible. I came out of a world where I did everything myself. So delegating was really something I had to learn. And I think to build a great team, you have to, if you are the leader of the team, you have to be ruthless with yourself and realize you are terrible at this. You are bad at this. Hey, what am I bad at? How am I doing? Always checking in and seeing where you can improve and fill the holes of what you can do, because no one is a monolith, with the best people who enthusiastically love that thing too. It's like Swiss cheese. You're a Swiss cheese block. How do you fill up the holes with the right people to make a solid Gouda? I don't know. That was a terrible analogy.
Oh, I actually like that one.
Okay, good.
Take it back to my boss.
Cheese people are like, how dare you? Swiss is not Gouda, you Philistine.
Okay, so standing next to Amy, there's a hand. You.
So you obviously juggle a lot of different projects and a lot of different things online. I obviously work here at Microsoft, but also do a lot of online content creation, and I never feel like I have enough time to do everything. So how do you juggle and balance all of your different projects?
It's really hard. I mean, especially when you wear a million hats. Like, the digital world enables that and kind of requires a lot of hats. But every so often I'll be like, this hat is very heavy. Why is it so heavy? I think it's, to me, my hardest thing is making sure that my time is as valuable as my time is to other people. So a lot of the time when I'm having an anxiety attack or I have a project to get done, I actually think of myself as another person. When I'm anxious or depressed, I think about myself as a child, and I give myself a hug, because when in my mind, and that really improves my mood in loving myself and being gentle with myself, not being frustrated with myself. So emotionally, I get through like that. And then, as far as like creativity, I'm showing up with a date for myself. Like, I am accountable to myself in showing up for the time that I carve out for myself as anybody else needing it. So I make up people. I'm like, I'm sorry, I have a meeting with Judy. And I'm like, I'm Judy. But like, in doing that, it makes people actually, because people do have an attitude where like, well, I need your time. So just because it's for you, it means you're self-centered. No, it means I'm showing up for myself. So to me, I always put, dates with myself or work sessions with myself and pretend I'm Judy. And it actually works. It goes far, because you only get great things by slowly accumulating them. Everything isn't overnight and instantaneous. Damn it! I'm gonna have to change my name in my calendar.
In the dark t-shirt right there.
So I just wanted to know, you're talking about making time. Do you still have time to play games, and what are you playing right now?
Well, the good thing is I made game playing into my work by streaming, which actually didn't start that way. I started streaming about a year ago only because I just had to do something for myself that got me back to where I started. And I love streaming on Twitch. And out of that, we started streaming on Twitch with Geek and Sundry. We stream 5-6 days a week now. And I love the interactivity with the audience. And it really got me back to my roots of like, this is a small community, and I kind of know a lot of the people in there as people. And we are doing something together. So regardless, aside from that, there are games like Pillars of Eternity that are not really stream friendly as much, but they're amazing. Wasteland 2 was one of my favorites of last year. I've been playing Witcher 3. And I love indie games, and I really want to, in the future, turn my focus more toward indie, because AAA, they've got it covered. They're the Hollywood blockbuster of gaming, but there's so much innovation and design and just boundary pushing in indie games right now. It's such an amazing scene that I would love to put more of my voice into, and my company's voice into too. And I remember, Xbox Live, all the indie games, like I saw those way more often back then. So hopefully you guys can push those a little bit more, because those are really where the jewels are to me in the world of games.
Xbox thing going on from 2 to 4.
Oh, okay, cool. I wish I could be here. I'm at PAX with this guy.
Okay, I've been ignoring this side of the room, so yes, you.
I brought my girls because they are homeschooled, and I wanted them to see a successful, homeschooled woman.
Yay!
And I was wondering, what kind of thoughts do you feel like you wish you could tell yourself when you were younger as homeschooled, but what you know now, or just that kind of stuff that you wish you know now, you didn't know then.
Oh, wow.
Now because you'll say it.
Yeah, no, I don't want to say, I would say that don't base your self-worth on your achievements as much. That's what I kind of found myself doing. I became that girl as I have a 4.0, or I won this, and I think that sort of external gratification sort of sells yourself short, and then you think about the end result more than the process. I think that's the best thing I've learned is have a love of learning for yourself and sign up for a daily work of it. Because if you're just driving yourself toward, I need to win this thing, you really, you don't enjoy 90% of your literal hours. And I guess for homeschooling, I had a very unstructured homeschooling. Hopefully your children are a little bit more structured than, let's just wake up whenever. But at the end, you have the opportunity to really pursue something that you love and get a leg up. So, getting out and meeting people and being part of, like I said, building communities around activities you love, and just really supporting, things that you love. I would never be here unless I had loved violin, and my mom had literally got me any of the best lessons in the area, or just going and taking watercolor at the community college. I did it. I was a 10-year-old sitting next to an 80-year-old doing watercolor. And those things really fostered a love of learning in me, and I think serves me well nowadays.
Amy, you had one last question, and then I think, yeah.
Okay, so there's a couple things. One is in response to the cheese comparison, there's been a lot of appreciation.
Oh my God, the cheese analogy is hitting it.
And then Joseph asks, what's the best current show on TV or online which no one is watching?
Oh wow, that's Game of Thrones is really this really sleeper hit that nobody. No, I think God, there's the thing about right now is there's such a glut of content, and it's really hard to find things there's a show called Catastrophe, I think, which it's a half-hour comedy. It's out of Britain. I love British comedy the most. I love Doctor Strange, Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell. That's an amazing thing. Hey, right there, that was a great show that I feel like people didn't talk about enough, because I love that book and I thought they were a great adaptation. There's awesome stuff online, and I think the more that we can really, if you find somebody you really love, especially on a small scale, be proactive and create a community around there, because that really is the key to keeping a creator going, and also having content mean more to you. I think we've gone beyond the point where we're just passively being shoved, shoving movies in our faces and TV, and yes, that's great, but it's really the experience around those, and that's what Buffy showed me much long ago about creating community around a creation, and it really enriches people. If you see the charity work, we have a Team Human around our Twitch channel that does charity work and knows people in each other in real life, and I think that's really something that tech should facilitate, the enabling of community around content in a more seamless way, and I appreciate it whenever I see that. So yeah, that's it.
Thank you, guys. Now you all have to go do all these things, especially the Xbox people. So Felicia's going to be back there signing books, and you can buy books, I think.
Yes, you can purchase books. If you don't have one, I will sign it. And I know, I'll see all of you there. Thanks so much for reading.
Thanks.